Hello freedom seekers, Jeremy Chambers, Independence Acres Homestead. At the end of our last video, I did a little tease about something that's coming to our homestead. And I'm gonna talk to you about that here in just a second. But first I wanna show you guys some new life. Let's head on over to the bunny cages. Eleanor, our American chinchilla doe, had some bunnies just 2 days ago, and I wanna show you how cute they are. So right now these little bunnies are only about 2 days old. Eleanor is a pretty good mom, aren't you, girl? She's, like I said, American chinchilla. If you're curious about that breed, head on back to some of our older videos where we introduced the American chinchilla breed and when we first got them here on the property. And these guys are not the cutest at the moment, but you can see the cuteness just starting to shine through a little bit. Pretty much hairless at this point, but they've got plenty of mom's hair in their nest in order to keep them warm. But honestly, today, they don't need it. Pushing close to about 85, 87 degrees is what they're calling for, so it's kind of a warm day. All right, well, enough dilly-dallying. Let's head on over and I'm gonna show you guys the new additions to the property here. So these are the two newest additions to the homestead. Two Katahdin ewes. They're about 4 months old, and I'll be honest with you guys, I really was not planning to get sheep anytime soon. We really weren't planning to expand livestock here on the homestead, but we ran into one of our good friends, Ann from A Farm Girl in the Making, at the Homesteaders of America conference down in Tennessee. And they had a bottle lamb there that they were taking care of. And I tell you what, I fell in love immediately. And so for the next, I mean, since we got back from Tennessee, I'm asking, Shelly constantly, hey, can we get some sheep? Can we get some sheep? And, hey, Shelly, can I get some sheep?
No, not now.
Even previous to this, I'm like, hey, let's get some goats, let's get some sheep, let's get something. Let's get some kind of, livestock to put on the homestead here. And she's like, no, we don't need the extra work. No, we really don't have space. No, we don't have this. I'll be honest with you guys, we do have space, but she's right. A lot of times I'll take on projects and not necessarily have things fully planned out because in my mind everything that comes to homesteading is an experiment. However, when it comes to taking care of animals, we can't always have everything be an experiment. So I've been researching this breed, the Katahdin, for a while and really fell in love with the breed. Hair sheep, don't require too much care other than adequate housing, a place to graze, proper minerals, water, stuff of that nature. And so the care is pretty low on these guys. We don't have to shear them. They're a hair sheep. And as most of you know, I hate to mow. The last thing I want to do on my weekends is spend my entire weekend mowing. Even one evening of the week mowing is too much for me. Like I said, Shelly really wasn't keen on getting some more livestock. I kind of talked her into it a little bit just by using the excuse that I won't have to mow quite so much. And honestly, all of our mowers are getting a little long in the tooth, so we're about at the time where they're going to have to be replaced eventually. So these are just my mowers for this summer. So the plan is going to be to get them fully trained on the electric fence, the blue fencing that you see here, and use them as basic lawn mowers throughout this summer in order to just reduce my workload here on the homestead. Now I know you might be saying, well, but if you're taking care of more animals, are you really reducing your work? Well, for me the answer is yes, because if we are investing that time that I would be spending on mowing and taking care of these guys and moving the fences around, in the end it's a net gain, because as cute as they are, these guys are freezer bound. We are raising them specifically for the purpose of having some fresh lamb in the freezer. Well, not fresh, frozen lamb in the freezer. So these guys are going to spend the next 6 months here on the homestead, grazing, helping to maintain the field here out by the chicken coop, between the greenhouse and the chicken coop. Just this whole area. We've pretty much got it divided out into 4 paddocks that we'll be able to move the electric fence around in, so that they can take care of maintaining this area of the yard for me. it is a little bit of an investment, but the fence is an investment we can use in other areas. So we're still working really hard to try to get them used to us, and that involves giving them just some small treats, not like treats like we would think, but basically some sunflower seeds, some pumpkin seeds, things of that nature, in order just to let them know that we're not bad guys, right? So over the next week, we're going to be working on training them a little bit more to be to see us as givers of life and not takers of life. And we're going to start working them over into this larger grass area, this area over here where the grass is much taller. We took down the chicken fence this week, so we're going to be working on this outside perimeter fence. You see that with the white electric fence? That's a Premier One poultry net. We're going to eventually move that over for the chickens, and that's going to become their new fence area. And then this blue netting, this blue electric netting that we purchased is going to become the netting specifically for the sheep, and that's why we've got it inside here of a hard barrier where we have the hog panels. Prepping for these guys took a little bit of work. When the idea came across, this would have been the Saturday night of the last video, because last video covered Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday morning. Saturday night, that Saturday, we were presented with the idea of possibly getting the sheep, and it took a little bit of convincing. By Saturday evening, I had Shelly about 90% convinced that this is something we needed to do. And then by Sunday, she was pretty much on board. But then we had a little bit of a scramble in order to get everything that we needed for the sheep. And it was raining on Sunday. So Caleb and I hopped into the truck and we went to like 2 different farm stores, and we're able to find some pallets and some shipping crates for lawnmowers. We loaded those up, we brought them home, and we spent most of the day Sunday in between rainstorms and sometimes even out in the rain, taking those crates apart, fitting them together, and figuring out how to assemble them in a way to where we could make that shelter right there. Luckily, I had the sheet metal sitting around from well, actually it was one of our neighbors had built a building and tore it down because he didn't like it, and the sheet metal was left over, and I snagged that before the scrappers got it. The corrugated roofing metal was free, the pallets were free. Pretty much everything that we have here, other than the sheep, right, the watering trough here, and this blue electric netting, was stuff we already had, and we didn't spend a dime on it. So all in all, our investment was pretty reasonable for honestly the cost of lamb right now. So we should be able to, this is either a net zero or possibly even a net gain when we look at the return on investment here. So those are pretty much the 2 reasons, between not having to mow and actually getting some decent quality red meat into our freezer to supplement the rabbit that we already have. This was going to be a pretty big step for us. So eventually Shelly said yes, and here we are 4 days later, 4 days later. We picked them up Monday night. Here we are 4 days later. Sheep are settling in so-so. They're still a little skittish, still a little unsure of us, but they're slowly learning that we're good people. Well, we just finished moving the 2 sheep to the new paddock area. Let them go from the small restrictive fence they were in. They're pretty much trained to the electric fence. They have not been testing it ever since the first day, so they learned pretty quick. We did double up the electric fence here. We got the white fence as an extra perimeter, basically just to deter them in case they do kind of bust down the first one. The second one's just going to give us just a little bit of extra protection here. But they did their job. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but this area right here, it's a little brown, right there, right here. That's the area they've been grazing on for about 2 days, and it looks great. I mean, I'm not going to have to mow at all if they can do that to this area over here. Well, that about wraps up our adventures for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can follow us on this sheep raising journey. Thank you so much, and until next time, God bless.